Well, it is 27 degrees Celsius here in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, and we understand about 9 degrees Celsius in Windsor in the United Kingdom, where President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his wife, Remi, is making a state visit on the invitation of King Charles II. In just a moment, we'll be going over to the United Kingdom to get updates on what is happening with that state visit, which officially begins today. Well, in just a moment, good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily. I'm Maupe Ogunyusuf.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. Did you just say 9 degrees? Anyway, I'll enjoy my 29 degrees here. I'll enjoy my 29 degrees happily here in Lagos, Nigeria. It's the 18th day in the month of March and counting down, yes, less than 24 hours to Eid al-Fitr. Welcome to the show.
Indeed, Ayo, Nigeria is also celebrating the Eid al-Fitr holidays, and 2 days have already been declared by a notice given by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, as well as the Minister of Interior. Well, tomorrow, Thursday, 19th March, and Friday, the 20th of March, have been declared as public holidays to mark the celebration of Eid al-Fitr, which signifies the end of the holy month of Ramadan. Well, this is also coming on the heels of President Bola Tinubu's state visit to the United Kingdom, the first in 37 years. And our correspondent, our bureau chief, Juliana Olayinka, she's en route to the venue of where things are going to be happening. But Juliana, yesterday we saw the president arrive in the United Kingdom, being very warmly received in that very lovely vehicle on his way to Windsor. And you gave an update. What are we to expect today?
Well, we're going to expect a lot of pomp and ceremony. Good morning, Malfair. You said it's 9 degrees, but it's very bright and sunny in London at the moment, or shall I say in the United Kingdom. So the president definitely brought some good weather. But look, it is a monumental occasion, hugely significant. And I would say not just for Nigeria, for the entire Commonwealth. I sat down with the Commonwealth Secretary General yesterday. She is the first African woman to lead the member state, and she was very excited. So I've got to tell you, this is not just a state visit for Nigeria. This is indeed putting Africa on the map. If you think of that bridge between Europe and Africa, it is UK and Nigeria. So that's what we are anticipating today. This is a big global moment. The first time we're going to be seeing Mr. President will be, I would say, just before lunchtime, or probably lunchtime Nigeria time. He will be met by the Prince and Princess of Wales, Prince William and Princess Catherine. They will be receiving the president at his hotel in Windsor. Beautiful hotel, by the way, Fairmont, very picturesque. He will be met by them, and then they will take the president to see the King, King Charles III and Queen Camilla. There is a huge, beautiful road called Datchet Hill, where we will see the colours. So I know there's been lots of flags floating around on the internet. That scenery, that scenic vision is where we are going to see Nigeria in its full display. There is expected to be quite a large entourage. Who is going to get into the pen, as in the insides of Windsor Castle? We're not so sure at the moment, but there is going to be a lot of colour, a lot of atmosphere. And I've got to tell you, there is a lot of excitement. Surprise, surprise, from what I've seen over the past couple of days, the excitement does appear to be coming more from the Brits. We're living in very different times. There's lots of geopolitical fragmentations. I don't want to talk about Brexit. We'll save that for another day. But of course, Brexit is going to be at the top of British minds. They want to renew these relationships with Nigeria. Let's not forget that, Nigeria is a former colony. Britain does owe a lot to that nation. And I think now we really are, Malpe, going to see a renewing of ties. So this is huge. And as I said, it's not just Nigeria on the map, it's Africa.
Well, Juliana, we certainly will be keeping updated. I'm sure you'll be keeping us updated with happenings in the United Kingdom. We look forward to seeing all of the pomp and pageantry and all of the colors on display. And it's interesting you say that the British people are very excited. I wonder how the diaspora community is feeling. Last week, we knew that there was also an event organized for Nigerians in diaspora. Are they very excited about this visit as well? I mean, have you had any feelers about how they feel? I mean, about how they are receiving this visit?
Oh, absolutely. I know that there's been at least 2 buses this morning that have left London for Windsor, full of members of the Nigerian diaspora. And, you know, this is not just people from London. This is not people from Kent and Essex. People have come in from Scotland, Ireland. People have flown in from America, from Australia, from Asia, from Brazil. People have flown in from across the world. There are loads of diaspora support groups. Those who don't necessarily get to go home as much, they just want to feel as if they are part of this moment. They want to be part of the fabric. Let's not forget, whether she likes it or not, even His Majesty's Leader of the Opposition, Kemi Badenoch, is a Nigerian. There are so many Nigerians here in the UK. So on top of those that are already here, which is estimated at about 500,000, we have thousands that have flown in just to make sure that, you know, they can be a part of this. What we're hoping, and I do know that you've got somebody from the president lined up on your show, if they're listening, one thing we do want and we do hope to see is Mr. President engage those in the diaspora, you know, those who want to find out what's happening. They want to know how they can benefit from this administration. We're 3 years in, and I think we want to see more. We're expecting more. Do hope that they will be well received, and I hope the president will at least have 5 minutes for them. That's the feeling that I'm getting from the ground.
Indeed. Well, Juliana, we will be looking forward to your reporting. We have to thank you so much for keeping us updated. Thank you so much for filling us in this morning. Our Bureau Chief, Juliana Olayinka, who is en route to Windsor to give us all of the details of what will be transpiring today as the president begins his state visit to the United Kingdom. Well, we're still focusing on that particular issue, the visit of the president to the United Kingdom, the state visit, the first happening in 37 years. Now, for those who are wondering, but the president goes to the UK all of the time. Well, we must let you know there are different types of visits. There is a state visit, which is the highest kind of visit, which is usually initiated by the hosting state. An invitation extended to the leader of another state, which is usually the state visit. It comes with all manner of pomp and pageantry. Of course, there'll be meetings on the side, etc. And then there's the official visit, as well as well, meetings happening, bilateral meetings or multilateral meetings, be a hosting state, and all people from different countries or leaders from different countries visit those particular countries. Then you also have private visits, but this is a state visit. It is the first happening in 37 years. And for those who will be asking, why now? We seem pretty close to the UK. Why has it taken so long for us to be given this invitation for a state visit? It's one of the questions that we'll also be asking this morning on the program. And right now we're joined by Mr. Ademola Oshodi, who's a Senior Special Assistant on Foreign Affairs Protocol to the President. He joins us via Zoom from the United Kingdom. Mr. Oshodi, it's good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Mark.
And also in our studios here, we have Honorable Oluwole Oke, who is the Chairman, Foreign Affairs Committee in the House of Representatives, representing Obokun Oriade as Ijesha North Federal Constituency. He's in our studios here. Thank you so much for joining us, Honorable.
Thank you, Mark. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, I'm sure a lot of people have questions on their minds. I'm sure you've also seen statements from the opposition as to what is this about, really? But let me ask you, Mr. Oshodi, the first in 37 years, why now? What has fundamentally changed in the relations between the United Kingdom and Nigeria to warrant this?
That's a really good question. I'm so happy you asked that. the big answer is the fact that it is the reforms of the president of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He has opened up the Nigerian economy. He has showed that Nigeria is serious, and it has also asked for international assistance from major global players like the United Kingdom. Nigeria is basically on path to be a $1 trillion economy in the next few years. And the president has ensured that we put things in place, whether it's facilities we get or assistance regarding security, or even ensuring that we're on a global stage in the BRICS or G20 and having a seat in the United Nations. It's important that Nigeria projects itself positively abroad after taking care of its own economic and security challenges at home. Now, the United Kingdom has seen the fact that Nigeria is not a country that you take for granted, even regardless of our historical ties with them. Nigeria has made friends with all the major players, China, India, Brazil. I mean, we have this ongoing direct flight between Brazil and Nigeria, and nothing that's happened like that in West Africa. Nigeria has close affinities and relationship with France. France is not usually our traditional ally. We work with France in security in West Africa, a key part of our security issues. So Britain has seen the fact that they've left the European Union. They're no longer part of the European Union. Brexit has had tremendous effect on the economy. They need to have new markets. They see Nigeria's budding economy as a path towards their own prosperity. The British economy, I think, recorded a 0 GDP rate just a few days ago. They're struggling with high taxes and other issues. Nigeria is the new India. Other countries ignored India. Now India is a giant in the global stage. Nigeria has an opportunity to be that growing economy like India with its massive population and its opportunity to open up West Africa and Africa to the rest of the world. So I believe the British government has seen the potential here. So we should just move, not to focus too much as Olayinka is doing on the pomp and the pageantry. It's hard-nosed, practical benefits here that both countries seek to achieve.
Well, certainly Nigerians will be looking forward to those tangible outcomes. And I think that's what a lot of people would want to see. How does this change the price, we like to say in local parlance, change the price of fish in the market? How does it put more money in my pocket? And these conversations are even more important right now, given the international settings where there is this war between Iran and the United States and Israel, and how that is now currently affecting energy prices. It's putting more pressure on Nigerians. Inflationary pressure is also going to come, not just in terms of energy prices, but the price of everything, as a matter of fact. So at this point in time, I'm sure a lot of people will be wondering, what is this really about? Is this visit really going to benefit us in any way? You are a member of the House of Representatives, and you speak for a certain constituency within Nigeria. If your people were to ask you to explain how this visit will affect them, what would you be saying to them?
Well, thank you, Maupe. My starting point would be to congratulate Nigerians.
Congratulate?
Yes, Nigerians. This visit, this state visit, is not just an honor to Mr. President and the First Family, but to the entire Nigerians. You mentioned there that this is the visit that is taking place after 37 years. I think the last head of state that I had a state visit to the United Kingdom was General Ibrahim Babangida. For United Kingdom to have invited our president on state visits, they must have been very, very confident in our reforms, in the governance under the leadership of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. They must be looking forward to so many things. And This will be anchored under sideline activities, bilateral meetings, MOU signing, and all that. You also talked about the £749 million investments coming into the maritime sector. You know, the fact remains that this kind of investment, you know, will have its linkages effects, which will snowball into employment. The participants in that sector will in turn, you know, make profit, pay their taxes. And of course, you know that public finance runs on taxation. So it is a good development. And there'll be a lot of win. You know, this invitation has further repositioned Nigeria in the global stage.
Indeed. Well, we'll look forward to that. I don't know if that explanation, though, will be sufficient for the people of your federal constituency. Because it's interesting you say that the United Kingdom must have seen something about us and the reforms that, you know, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is, you know, enacting in Nigeria. The question is, what are we seeing in the United Kingdom? You are envisaging a win-win. What are we going with to the United Kingdom? I think that's one of the areas that people will be wanting us to focus on.
We'll be going to the UK with so many things. Nigeria has a very huge youth, professionals that UK do engage. And when they engage these Nigerians, you do know the effect. In return, you have effects coming from diaspora. Secondly, there are a array of issues that we need to rejig between Nigerians. Like, for example, you have a lot of Nigerians who have confidence in British education. So you have issues bordering on migration, on visas. And like I told you, on the sideline, virtually all sectors of our lives are captured on all the sideline meetings, engagements, from health sector to agriculture, to security, to finance, to climate. So a lot of gains are expected from this outing. And the Parliament, by provision of Section 12 of the Constitution, you know, we have to also enact into law various protocols, agreements, bilateral agreements and undertakings that they must have done.
All right. Let me take this back to Mr. Oshodi. I was wondering whether you could make this a little more concrete for us in terms of what exactly we are going to the United Kingdom with. How do we make sure? Because let's be very mindful. The United Kingdom, yes, we're part of the Commonwealth. And yes, a lot of people think that this should portend good for us. But we also know how power relations work. The United Kingdom is a former colonial master. There is always that imbalance of power when you're relating in this sort of situation. How do you think Nigeria will be able to negotiate in such a way that whatever deals, whatever outcomes come out of this meeting doesn't leave us holding the short end of the stick?
Well, it's a mutually beneficial relationship. And if you look at the trade volume between both countries, it's almost close to 50-50, $11 billion per year, and it's growing, but it's growing rapidly. So I believe that UK needs Nigeria for mainly two reasons. Again, that reform has opened up the market and made Nigeria look more attractive to the, a market of over 200 million people and growing, very sophisticated population in Africa, with very similar cultural affinity, language, etc. So Nigeria is a potential, just like how India was 10, 15 years ago, just like how China was 30 years ago. These are countries that are going to be rather big in economic and in many cases, even in strategic possibilities around the region and the world. That's the first reason. So for economic reasons. Secondly, I think Britain, as I said, Britain has left the European Union. They need new partners. They need new trade opportunities. But strategically, Nigeria is also making friends beyond its traditional allies. I mean, Nigeria is a long and line country, but we're making friends with people in BRICS, the countries that the emerging economies of, again, China, Indonesia, Brazil, and of course, even of course, South Africa is also there. So, and Turkey. So Britain sees the fact that it's losing this close tie and affinity with such an important country in Africa. We're also very close to France. France is not our traditional ally, but we're opening up doors with France because of our security needs in West Africa with Benin, Niger, and also those countries that are left ECOWAS. So Britain has this strategic interest in Nigeria and an economic interest in Nigeria. So whatever we are going to Britain with, we're not going there with a position of weakness. We're going to a position of strength because we're coming with something on the table. We're coming with what we know what they need, and we also want something. We're getting a loan facility to revamp our ports in Lagos. It's over $700 million, I believe. So that is going to, in many cases, position Nigeria ready for the expansion of its economy. We're seeking this $1 trillion economy. We need to have those ports ready. Malcolm, I don't know if you remember in the 70s, at the time of Murtala Mohammed and Obasanjo, Murtala Mohammed and Gowon, when we had massive congestions at our ports. And there was issues of how do we import cement and how do we export crude oil. The ports were not ready. So President Bola Tinubu is getting our ports ready, even in Onne, and other parts of Nigeria, to be able to receive massive importation and our exports of commodities and, of course, oil and gas. So we need to have this infrastructure in place. We need to have good roads in place. We need to have railway in place. We need to have airports in place. So this is how you grow to a $1 trillion economy. Most importantly, though, is defense, insecurity. We need to ensure we are secure first before we can even start making all these plans. We had the security challenge in Maiduguri yesterday, my heart goes out to the victims. But the president has brought security people to this trip to ensure we tap into the British experience in security. They fought the Irish Republican Army, the IRA, for decades. They have a blueprint how to combat internal strife. They've also had issues around fighting in Afghanistan, in Iraq. They've had British history has been long from, days of 1066 when the Normans invaded the United Kingdom. So we have, of course, this historical tie with them. We can only build on that in defense and attract money for our own growth. So history meeting modernity. That's what this trip is about.
Pardon me going back again, because when I asked you about why this state visit, and I was trying to also help our viewers understand, for those who are wondering why it is that, the president, why this visit is important, and the fact that the president has gone to the UK several times, what exactly is the noise about for this one? And, trying to highlight the fact that the state visit is the most important. I know that earlier you were trying to say it was not about the pomp and the pageantry, but one of the things that really stand out, a state visit from every other type of visit, is the pomp and the pageantry attached to it. Why do you think that this has not been an official visit, which might have achieved the same objectives? Why does it have to be a state visit? Why do you think Britain has to show us this, has to roll out the red carpet, literally, to welcome us, to say, come and visit? If not that, you think that at this point, we really have something that they need. The question will be whether we are really going with all that we need to maximize this red carpet that has been rolled out for us.
The red carpet is very necessary. The pomp and the pageantry is very necessary. But the point I was trying to make is the fact that we should not lose focus on the essence, the practical aspect of it, the tangible aspect of it. Nigerians will question the fact that did we just come to the UK to enter, the Buckingham Palace or Windsor Palace and enter golden carriages like prince and princesses of Disney? Or did you come here to change their lives, to bring better security, to bring more money to their table, and to also ensure that Nigeria is respected around the world? So state visit, it shows the fact that we are respected and they do need us. They haven't done this in 37 years. That says a lot. We've had, Obasanjo, we've had Yaradua, we've had Jonathan, we had Buhari. None of them were invited. None of them was invited to the UK for a state visit. So it shows the fact that we're doing something different. We're doing something different with our reforms, and Britain also needs us. And that is why they have rolled out the red carpet and brought out all their royalty to show us tremendous respect. Nigeria is a colony, their colony. I'm pretty sure they took us for granted. They probably took us for granted, knowing that, we are, like brothers and sisters, we're always going to be together. Nigeria has come on its own. The president has ensured that we are a big player in the global stage. We are dealing with countries like, Brazil, India, China, and European Union. Everybody wants to have a piece of Nigeria because of the potential that's been made available. And we need them for security. We need them for foreign direct investments. We need to open up the African market, the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. We need to have agreements, bilaterals with countries that want to invest in what is one of the largest economies in the world. So yes, I did play down the pomp and the pageantry and all the ceremony, but people will go back and ask, is that what we came for? And I can tell you for a fact, we came for very tangible things. We came for agriculture, defense, and even our culture, pushing our culture, historical culture, our arts and ensuring that Nigerian the story, the narrative,
I look at
giving out. We say what we feel is our story, not what they tell us.
Mr. Oshodi, I'm looking at the president's entourage, and it's quite a wide one. And I think I would bring this to Honorable in our Abuja studio. This wouldn't be the first time the president and Prince Charles or King Charles at the time have met each other. I think in 2023, the two leaders met on the sidelines of the summit, the climate summit, the COP28 climate summit, talking about a number of things around, including, climate financing. In 2024 as well, as Maokwe said, there are many different kinds of visits. There was a private meeting between the president and King Charles, also talking about some of these other matters, including climate change and all. But I'm not sure if climate change is on the list of this particular conversation. Well, speaking to some of the issues that, Mr. Oshodi has raised, from your own space as chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee, the question a number of people will be asking, and some have raised that issue, is this is all a waste of money. How do states visits such as this to the United Kingdom, a former colonial master over Nigeria, as you have heard, what is this going to directly bring to Nigerians in direct ways? I'm pretty, emphatic on the word direct. How will the Nigerians feel the benefits of this visit of the president to the United Kingdom?
Well, this visit is a state visit. It is the highest diplomatic engagement that United Kingdom will offer any nation. It shows that Nigeria is very significant. Nigeria is very important in Committee of Nations as leader of the African continent. Do you think the United Kingdom will close its eyes to the population, to the market size, economic opportunity in Nigeria? Do you think United Kingdom will close its eyes to the resources, huge resources that we have in the gas and the other natural resources? Do you think that United Kingdom will close its eyes to strategic geopolitical position of Nigeria? There are an array of issues that United Kingdom is looking up to. And I want to tell you that Nigeria also want to maximize the gains, the opportunities of these engagements. And that is why you see leaders of every sector, particularly on the executive side, and even from the parliament, the president of the National Assembly, the Senate president is on Mr. President entourage. So the engagement is very, very, very unique. And we won't allow it to just slide away.
I see a list before me now of some of the key business and economic outcomes of this visit and surrounding engagements. Record trade and investment growth of up to £8.1 billion, port modernization, which Mr. Oshodi pointed to, financial services expansion, energy and infrastructure focus, fintech and creative industries, FDIs, and all of that. Usually, one would expect that for such things to really come directly to Nigerians, which is what I was hoping you would speak to, is that there needs to be some other infrastructure at home that is going to support that. From time to time, when the president is speaking, he is appealing to governors, appealing to traditional rulers to talk to the governors. One of those conversations he had in the process of this fasting is with media executives, telling them, look, ask me questions, that's fine, but also ask governors and ask local government administrations so that whatever they do also percolates down. The question that I'm asking is about when these investments, these opportunities that the president has gone to buy, if I can use that term, really do come in. What's the infrastructure on ground to welcome them in and retain them so that after the government has left office, there are no regrets afterwards? That's the question I'm asking.
Well, my response to that is that this is the first time I'm seeing a precedent that aligns with the provisions of our Constitution in terms of, revenue that has accrued to the Federation account and allowing the subnational, the state and the local governments to take what truly belongs to them. Unlike in the past, where the federal government will appropriate to itself some revenue that actually belongs to the three tiers of government. Now you are talking about infrastructure, assuming without considering that we don't have adequate infrastructure. To me, that is actually a source of investment opportunity windows that businessmen in the United Kingdom will look up to, like I observed earlier, the £749 million credit facility being offered to upgrade our maritime, our port infrastructure. So it is in the energy sector, in the power supply. Having the power it's not rocket science. You have various sources of energy, hydro, gas, turbine, sun, and all that. So it's Nigeria is a place where foreigners can come and invest. We have put in place the enabling environment for private sector geared, economy investment to thrive. And this will be one of the gains that we tend to achieve from this visit. Now, you say I don't have the opportunity here to speak to all the hires of MOUs, bilateral meetings that will be taking place. And that is why you see various ministers that are very critical to economy accompanying Mr. President on this very state visit. So I can assure you that this visit will open doors for FDI, foreign direct investment, both at the national level and at subnational level.
Well, let me take it to you, Mr. Oshodi. Same question, but I'd like you to respond to it the best way you can, because my belief is that when a state visit like this happens and the president returns home with the largesse, if I can, use the term, at the end of the day, it's going to come to certain people in the local governments and the state governments and all of that. That's the kind of infrastructure I'm asking about, whether soft infrastructure or hard infrastructure, that people will not say, politics aside, people are going to say, look, this is what we need to do. Let's place politics aside. Let's look at the welfare of our people. Do we have that kind of mindset ready for when the president will come back and say, we got this, we have this now we need to do this and do this, so that we can all raise the country's stakes in the global economy? I hope you understand the question I'm asking, Mr. Oshodi.
No, actually, I don't. I'm not very clear about it, but I can speak for the mindset of the politicians and the state governors and local governments. What I can speak for is what the president's aim and achievement has been coming for this trip, and how it's going to affect the population. And I'll tell you this. You talked about hard and soft, I think, attributes of what it's going to come with. Those ports, as I said, in Lagos are going to be revamped. We're going to have more issues looked into regarding our fintech. And we're also going to have a major behind-the-scene discussions on defense and security, how to avoid incidences like happened in Maiduguri the night before, where a lot of Nigerians were killed. My heart goes out to them. So that is the tangible things that those are the tangible things that we're going to get out of this trip. It may not percolate into the economy and to the society immediately, but we have to put things in place to ensure the enabling environment is there for security and development.
It's that enabling environment, Mr. Oshodi, that I'm talking about, and that enabling environment is going to be provided by people. I'm talking about the partnerships that are necessary to facilitate or fast-track the visibility of the results of what the president is bringing back. That's what I'm talking about, because if the partnerships are not there, we are all going to be doing things at variance. But with the united front, we can make that kind of progress. That's the point that I'm trying to make.
I understand, and I think that that is something what the administration has in place. That's why we have this large contingent here, which is a variety of ministers and even governors, to ensure that that communication is there. So where we have side meetings, people think that, oh, it's just to see the King and Queen Camilla. But there's also side meetings with business partners, with security agencies, and also with cultural and tech, tech philanthropists. So like venture capitalists, for instance. So there's a lot of side meetings where all these people come together to meet. Most of the meetings are actually that. And everybody will take this back home with their MOUs or their relationship they've built and communicate with their team. There's a synergy whereby the presidency's team will speak with all agencies and see where and how we can follow up. I know there's a small team with the Chief of Staff's office that coordinates all the results of this meetings and these foreign trips and percolates around the different arms of government to ensure everybody's on the right path. And there's also follow-up. So all those things are in place. It's usually the case when it comes to foreign trips like this. So we should have that in mind. We're not going to come here and spend so much money and not get results. This is the president that is focused on ensuring there's results. We're going through a very tough reform process, and everybody is feeling the pinch. But it's very important that we put things in place to have an economy that is liberal and open for investments, and it's taken serious by the international community. And this state visit says that, especially with the large contingents of people that came with it, and also the diaspora community that wishes us the best and wants to ensure they can have the ears of the president moving forward.
All right, most certainly. Very encouraging, one would say, but there are a number of other issues to raise when we return from this break. To stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Honorable, let me come back to you. I'm sure that Mark would like to raise an issue or two with Mr. Oshodi later, but Honorable, let me ask you this. There are some things that Mr. Oshodi said that I think, calls for attention about politicians. The visit of the president and a number of other issues that are being celebrated in some quarters are not being celebrated in other quarters. We've all seen headlines somewhere where a particular president or a former president or someone was quoted as saying that a number of seemingly progressive infrastructure being held by the president are a waste of money, a waste of resources, and those comments have gone from time to time. So when we hear that Nigeria is going to get a loan of £746 million to revitalize or renovate our ports so as to encourage more foreign direct investment one way or the other, the president doesn't have a state. He has to still interact with state governments. Most of them, particularly at the head, are politicians. When the president is meeting with people and saying, look, ask governors questions, ask local government administrations questions, he's talking about politicians. Mr. Oshodi has said that, look, the best that the president can do is to facilitate. We need the partnership of people in other states and all the federating units to ensure that the needful is done to harness the benefits that are coming, particularly from such an initiative as this state visit. What should we all be saying as one, particularly irrespective of whatever political divide? What patriotic conversations should be happening so that when these investments come in, they already have a place to stay and not being looked at from a political microscope every time?
Thank you very much. The investment in the maritime sector, coming from the UK, is not a loan to government in the first instance. It is private sector geared, right? I think some companies are partnering to upgrade our infrastructure, the various ports that were concessioned to private companies. So it's purely private sector geared. And I want to tell you, if any venture is not productive, nobody will go to UK and raise such quantum of money and come and invest it. So on the other side, for politicians, I think citizens should hold their elected officials, particularly in the executive arm, responsible. Even in the legislative arm, for example, you elect councillors, you elect council chairmen, you elect a governor, and you elect members of the state assembly. I submitted earlier that the president I have seen truly working in consonance with the spirit and provisions of our constitution is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I've had the privilege to be in parliament for quite some time, and I've had various committees. I've investigated NNPC, NNG programs, and I've seen how some revenue that should have accrued to the federation account were appropriated by federal government. This is not what is happening under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Even when PIA Act is there and we saw Mr. President saw some gaps, he came by way of Executive Order 9 to make sure that every revenue proceeds from that sector goes into the federation account. Now, when we now share this money to various subnational governments, states and local governments. It is the duty of the citizens to be vigilant, to ask questions through their representatives about what is happening to their money, to the taxpayers' money that has been allocated to them. But I will tell you for free that yes, we have issues because some lawmakers in the local government, even chairmen, dare not look up to their governors, to ask questions. In some parliament, in some state assemblies, they are dominated by one party, and they dare not to look up and challenge. For example, in Osun State, where I come from, the entire members of the state assembly, we only have one member from APC. The rest of them, 25 of them, have defected from PDP to our court party. They dare not confront Mr. Governor and ask him questions. So even when the state government had received so much money in the history of the state, right? So nobody is asking questions. And that is what we should begin, to do. Various civil societies should, encourage citizens to engage government, to ask questions about what they are doing with their money.
Well, certainly. I mean, just to mention that the fact that you are in the House of Reps does not preclude your right as an individual and, as a citizen of Nigeria, and also someone from Osun State, to ask the governor questions on behalf of the people whom you're representing at the National Assembly. But that said, because that also follows the impression or the image that Nigeria has abroad, and some people will say it depends on who's looking and when they're looking and why they're looking. Because is this in the United Kingdom a few years ago where we heard British Prime Minister, call us fantastically corrupt. And there'll be questions as to how we're going to be managing that impression, because even though our correspondent Juliana did say that the people of the United Kingdom are quite excited, if this was the impression given by a former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, how is that? How is their own impression? It might be difficult to say, but how are we managing their own perception of who we are, given the impressions given by former UK Prime Minister?
Well, the impressions are always going to be there. There's always going to be people's perception of anybody, any culture. We can't really influence how they think. We can only influence how we come across and how we receive it. That's what my mother always says. But I would believe whatever negative impression they had about about Nigeria has changed. It is seen as a more serious country now regarding its economic situation. Yes, we have a negative publicity about the security issue, which is really dire, which is really bad. But nobody really understands the challenges that has been left unresolved for a long period of time that the President Bola Tinubu is actually trying to deal with now. Budding issues of poverty, issues of neglect, and issues of people just not being held accountable. So all those things are being addressed now with the security and apparatus put in place. People have been taken to court. People have not been summarily executed. People have been intelligence-driven security is now been put in place to prevent forestall attacks on civilian population and military targets. So we have that impression about Nigeria, but Nigeria is also a major player. We can't just think about the negative issues of small individuals, few individuals that give the country a bad name. Nigeria has made big inroads in the United Kingdom. Even the opposition leader has Nigerian roots. There's so many people. There's the boxer,
Anthony Joshua.
Sorry, Anthony Joshua. Thank you. There's so many people that are positively, even football and everything in Nigeria. So people don't think about that. They think about the negative things that happen are accustomed to Nigeria, inside Nigeria or outside Nigeria. And that's more positive than negative, I can assure you. Nigeria is a giant. We have a huge population. And if you look at any other country that has a big population, you find the good and the bad, whether it's India, whether it's China, whether it's the United States, whether it's whether it's even in Britain.
Yeah, well, Mr. Oshodi, I was looking at that question not more from the perspective of citizens who are outside. That's important as well, and maybe you might want to add the issue of migration to it, whether it's on the table in terms of making it easier for both sides to be able to visit. How, just make it easier. Let's put it that way, because we know that migration is now a very sensitive issue. If you want to add that, that's fine. But when I asked that question about impressions and how we are managing that, I was speaking more about our government, because I think that when Prime Minister David Cameron made that statement, he was referring more to the government than the people of Nigeria.
Yeah, I understand that. I remember when that statement was made, he made it off the cuff on the sides. Yes, Nigeria has gone through its challenges. We had a very bad impression regarding corruption. I know we were on the Transparency International Index, we were quite low. We've gone up since then. But what we can ensure is the fact that Nigeria will always come back to corruption, just like any other country. I can't say more than that. I know it's a challenge that we've always had in this country. But the government has put things in place with the the EFCC, ICPC, and the police commission to even hold police accountable. We can always ensure that these things that they put in place will bring fusion. It will make the country a better and more equitable place for people, rather than collecting bribe. Systems will work. There will be avoidance of whereby government money will be channeled directly to government, and not through any leakages that that are causing problems and corruption.
All right, Mr. Oshodi, we certainly will be. We know that this visit will be lasting into tomorrow as well, and today is going to be a full day. We'll be looking forward to seeing the outcome of that when the president returns, and of course over the next couple of months and perhaps even years, the results of this state visit. But we have to thank you very much for speaking with us this morning. Mr. Ademola Oshodi is a Senior Special Assistant on Foreign Affairs Protocol to the President, and he joined us virtually from the United Kingdom. Thank you.
Thank you, Malcolm. Appreciate it.
We also have to thank you, Honorable Oluwole Oke, Chairman, Foreign Affairs Committee in the House of Representatives. Thank you so much for speaking with us this morning on your own expectations. We hope that it pans out well for Nigeria. We'll take a short break. I'll be back shortly to also mention the issue, to speak very briefly about the issue in Maiduguri. In just a moment, please stay with us. Just to also let our viewers know that the Nigerian Army issued a statement asking people to be vigilant. They say people should be calm but vigilant, avoid crowded areas where possible, and promptly report any suspicious persons, unattended items, or unusual activities to the nearest security agency. Now, while that will be for the people in Maiduguri, I believe that is also this is also for people across the length and breadth of this country, especially as we celebrate Eid al-Fitr tomorrow. We have to thank you all for watching the program this morning. Thank you for staying with us. Just stay with us here on Channels Television. We will be giving you full coverage of the President's state visit to the United Kingdom, while also asking you to stay safe. Thank you for watching. I'm Maokbe Ogun Yusuf.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. Of course, a lot of business is going to be happening in the UK, and Business Morning is up next, hopefully giving you more perspectives on that. Enjoy the rest of your day.